Church family. It's Pastor Merrick and Pastor Tiff here. We are here for another episode, another installment of Heart-to-Heart, and we're so glad to be with you. I just have a couple housekeeping things, and we're going to jump right into it. First thing first, hey, June 9th, Sunday, June 9th, go mark your calendar right now.
Yes.
We want to see you at Heart Church on the second Sunday in June. It is our birthday, yo. We got a whole 2-year church out here.
2 years.
Yeah, we got a toddler on our hands out this joint.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's walking, but it's wobbly.
The terrific twos.
Terrific twos.
Hey.
Yeah, no, terrific twos, absolutely. And so we are going to celebrate in high fashion. We have a guest artist coming, Leon Timbo, which if you have not heard of him, please go Google him right now. He's going to set your whole living room on fire with the Holy Spirit. And we're excited to have him. Also, we are going to have a party afterwards, right after service.
A whole thing.
Whole thing.
So.
We got food, we got entertainment, we got laughs, we got smiles, we got company. We just want you to come through. So make sure that you use the information below right now to go register. You can come to church easy. You don't got to register. You could wake up that morning, brush your teeth, and see us at church.
Yeah.
But if you want a plate, if you want a seat, if you want to come and have fun with us, we want you to register so we can prepare for you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then at the end of June on 5th Sunday, I believe it's the 30th if I'm not mistaken, we have Impact. So twice a year, we have leadership development gathering called Impact. And so for all of our Impact leaders, those who serve on our teams on Sundays, and if you're just interested in finding out more information about what we do and come and get developed, please register for that. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have some dynamic speaking. We're going to make sure that we reset some things and continue to pour into you as you pour into those who come to Heart. So make sure that you sign up for that as well. All right, that's it. I'm not going to go any further. We're going to jump right in. So, babe, what we got today? What's on the menu?
Well, today and throughout this entire month of May, it is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Hey.
I'm sure most of you have seen something about it, heard about it. It's been a while. I mean, it's been around for a while, so it's not like a new thing, but it's definitely become more of a topic, right. And it's been a lot more awareness, a lot more resources, and all the things behind it. So, right. Yeah, I mean, with it being fourth Sunday here, and it still being the month of May, and actually it's a good time too. It's a holiday weekend, you know, we want to just not keep it light, but just keep it,
easy.
Keep it easy. Yeah.
Digestible.
All the things that's going to just continue to help you to just go forth and be well. That's what we're talking about today. So mental health awareness. And it's so important to talk about in the church because I believe that is, we're tapping more into it as a church, not just us. I mean, the church as a whole. But there's still a lot more conversations, a lot more healing that needs to go forth. So, but this is how you start.
Absolutely.
Or for us, continue, because this is not new for Heart Church.
This is not new. Yeah, we stay in this puddle.
We do.
We stay splashing in this puddle.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. So, yeah, we just going to dive in today and just kind of, get things going and get things stirring.
I'm excited.
I guess my first question,
okay,
and there's no right or wrong answer, but how would you define mental health? Because I feel like a lot of people think they categorize it like as one thing, and I think there's a lot more to it than what people just, mental health, this means this.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I think, so just scientifically, this is for me, scientifically, I contribute a lot to the mind. So I know we talk about emotions from like the heart, but if we're really being like biological with it, our emotions, our responses of like our brain responding to things and stuff like that. And so you have like that emotional category. Then you have like your ability to reason and logic and your thoughts in your mind in that way. And then I would even say our creativity and desires to dream and all of that is connected to our mental capacity. So when I think about mental health, I think about it in a way where am I doing those categories of things in a way that is going to positively impact my life and the life of others. So if those things are at any detriment, if those things are lacking in any way, then they're going to not only I want to use a different word, but not only deteriorate my ability to progress and thrive and do well, but I'm going to have an effect on other people around me in a negative way. And so when I think about health, I think about, am I operating at an optimal level that I should be for where my maturity level is? So health for a child, if we're thinking physical health, is going to be different. I remember when we were in the doctor's office listening to Ava's heartbeat for the first time when you were pregnant with her, and the heartbeat was so fast, and I was like, "What in the world?" I was like, "Is she okay?" Like, it was like she was just a bead at that time, but it was like, "Is she okay?" And it was like, "Yeah, like for females, especially in this stage." Like, that's normal.
Yeah.
But if I showed up to the doctor with my heart fluttering like that, they'd be like, bro, you need to go have
You'll be admitted today.
Yeah, you'll be admitted.
Yes.
So I think also when I think about mental health, I think about it as for where I should be, you know, in my life, in my stage of life, in my maturity level, for the things that I've been through. Am I operating at an optimal level for where I should be? Because we've all gone through different things. And so because of your trauma, because of your experience, your best may look different than my best in a specific area. But as long as we're striving to get to our best, then I think that that's kind of what mental health looks like to me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a very deep
Sorry.
definition. No, don't apologize.
I
just
I go to the deep end ASAP. So I jump off the diamond board.
You go right in. I'm like, let me just. Can we
just? Yeah, you walk from shallow into the deep.
Give me a second. Let me just get my bearings together.
Right.
No, but that's all very good. And like I was. I'm processing what you're saying. So like that was really good. I think how I would define it or like to define it, because a lot of people, when you say, oh, mental health, I feel like they confuse mental health with like mental illness. Ooh. And actually, and look, they do. It's like, oh, okay. Mental health, and it's
explain. I mean, I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah,
but that just hit me.
Right. So it's just like your mental health is like, if you compare it like just like with physical health, right?
Yeah.
It is like when we talk about our physical health, that's like our entire body, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
We're not saying that there's something that is specifically wrong with, like, oh, you have,
gout.
Gout, or you have, lung cancer, or you have just whatever ailment, right?
Right.
But it's just, okay, when you talk about getting a physical, you go to the doctor so you can like get your whole body checked out to make sure you are in shape,
right.
You are healthy, you are well from top to bottom.
That's good.
And that is the same when it comes to mental health, right? It's just, I think it's a little bit different because we can't see our brain, right?
Yeah.
So this is just, it's all kind of like in the cloud, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like, okay, from top to bottom, like from, a wholeness perspective, like making sure everything is good,
Right.
And so even when it comes to when people go to a doctor or a therapist or something, it's just making sure that you are just whole, you're good. We're just checking in, making sure everything works. Have you thought about this to kind of tweak this to make this work better?
Right.
The same as we would do with our physical health.
Right. And so you're saying that you feel like when we think about mental health, we're only thinking about it from a mental illness perspective.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if I go to a therapist because something's wrong, versus like it being my checkup. That's dope.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So I think it's really good to just kind of like help people to see that it's not just, okay, there's something wrong with you, because people just, mental health, like that means something's wrong. It's like, no.
Yeah,
we're just, and so in addition to that, with my very long definition, I think like, because it's mental health, and like you said, everything's kind of connected, like that it is connected to your body. It is connected to like just, it's so many things that it's connected to. So mental health, how well or how healthy you are there will determine how well and healthy you are physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that stuff.
No, I didn't
so
think about it like that.
It's really important.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I don't want to hijack your question, but
no, go ahead.
I feel like everybody, if it was a bunch of people, if it was 100 people in this room right now, they would be shaking their head, nodding, like, yeah, you're absolutely right, you're absolutely right. But it would seem like, and I'm more familiar with the Black community, that like even though we know that that's right, like there's still like something that we still walk away from not feeling like it is connected, not feeling like almost like there's this like we have attributed toughness or resiliency or something to negating mental awareness. Like, you know what I mean? And so I love how you define that, because I think it puts it back on a level playing field where it's like, okay, let's just reframe this where it's not just about a weakness of yours.
Right.
Like, it's about your strength. Like, it's about getting your check-ins, getting your checkup. It's about, if you do find something, having the courage and the boldness to go work through it versus feeling like, oh, you jacked up, something's wrong with you. Because I think that that's the stigma for us in the African-American community sometimes. It's like, we don't want to look crazy out here or feel like we crazy out here.
But even though we have no problem looking and being crazy out here.
Oh, yeah, we're going to act out.
Like, I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, we were just looking,
right.
just on social media, looking on the shade room, looking at some crazy stuff. So I'm like,
absolutely.
we have no problem actually acting and being crazy in public for the world to see.
Yeah.
But don't want to go see a doctor. And it's honestly, it's not even mental health. Like this, it's the same with physical health.
It is.
Like in the Black community,
absolutely.
you know, we don't want to go to see no doctor because we don't want to know what's going on, because that's going to require change. It's going to require discipline. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it is important.
It's important.
And again, like all of that stuff is connected. Like
absolutely,
how you treat your mind will kind of determine how you treat your body, how you view your body, what you put in your body.
Right.
All of that stuff.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, I sprinkle a little bit of Bible in there, but you are hitting right on what Paul was talking about as far as like our body being a temple for God. So he's like, if you can't do it for yourself, at least look at your body as a temple for the Holy Spirit to reside in. Yeah. And that's just not physically. It is include physical, but it also includes your mental space. It also includes like what belongs to God. And if I'm a steward of what God has given me, how do I best steward that in a way that allows me to operate in a healthy way, holistically, and not just, you know, just trying to go to the gym once a month and calling it quits. So that's dope. Yeah.
And so, you know, I would like for you to kind of, if you don't mind,
of course,
you know, sharing a little bit about your journey, you know, your personal experience with, you know, your mental health, and, you know, you can share as much. Well, not that much, because, you know, we're on a time limit, but, you know.
Well, it all started when I was a twinkle in my parents' eye.
Don't go all the way back. Just, you know, bring us to the moment of enlightenment, right?
Okay.
Let us know when you were like, aha. Like,
right, yeah.
The MHM, mental health moment. I just made that up.
Okay.
But we know, just that enlightenment moment, that moment where it's like, okay, like, I know this is important for me. I know I need to take care of this part of my body, this part of my being. Yeah, just kind of just share with the people.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I would say before my mental health moment, I was not aware, and I would imagine a lot of people are like this. I was not aware of a need to have a specific focus on mental health. I think just like we were talking about, I thought that I was always for therapy, always for meditation, always for all these things, but just never felt like I had a need of it, in the same way that I didn't need a wheelchair because I knew how to walk, or I didn't need crutches if I didn't have a broken ankle. Like, I always felt like those things were for if you need them, then you do it. And so I didn't have a stigma around it, but I also didn't feel like it was something that was necessary for me. What I will say is that it wasn't until I got into a serious relationship with you, like, and I've been in relationships before, but I think my prior relationships were more like two people coming together, very much not trying to blend lives. You know what I mean? We were just showing up together, spending time together, interacting together, but it wasn't necessarily this like blending of life. And so when you try to get to that space, having somebody else that's with you a lot will put up a mirror in front of you that you never had before. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, and what happened, you know, with us, and I'm sure with a lot of couples, is when you see that mirror, you tend to get mad at the mirror. So you're getting mad at the person who's telling you about yourself because you don't believe that's who you are. And your experience, you don't believe you talk too much because no one has ever had an issue with you talking. Maybe you've been with people who enjoy you talking, you know what I mean? But it's like the person who is like, you know, you talk too much, right? And it's like, they're a mirror. and you like mad at the mirror, like, yo, how dare you? You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like, if you start to blend lives, you start to be around somebody in more often where they can see you more.
Yeah.
You know, you live with somebody, they see you more. And so, so my mental health moment came really at a moment where I could no longer deny the mirrors that were being put up in front of me, not just by you, but by life itself.
Yeah.
Like, so I've always been an overachiever. I've always been a A-type personality. I've, you know, dealt with being like, you know, OCD. But that never, even though I knew that I had obsessive traits, I didn't see it as a bad thing because it always served me. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't like OCD to the point where it's like I can't get through my day. But I, like we were just talking about now, like, it's like, is this thing centered? Like, is it centered for real? Because I needed to be centered. Like, and so it always showed up like, wow, that's really straight. That looks really good. Like, you spent a lot of time on that. Like, it always served me well. Like, okay, like it was my superpower for a long time.
Yeah.
And so when I got to a point where I failed, like big time, I ended up getting let go from a job. I've never been fired. I've only been promoted. I've only been, you know what I mean? Like, when I went in for a meeting, and then they sat me down and was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and let you go today. And I walked out with my stuff and it hit me heavy. I know I didn't even call you immediately. Like, I went, got my stuff, went into the car. The lady at the front desk didn't know that I was getting let go. I had just met with her. And so she was like, why you got all your stuff with you? And so, like, I had to verbalize it and say, like, oh, they just let me go. And she was like, wait, what? And we had already started Heart at the time. Yeah. So I knew that there was no money there. We had just planted. We had just started. And so I really was, like, in a bad space. And when I did finally tell you, you were like, come, I'm going to take you to lunch. We're going to talk about it. And I remember being in the car and, you know, crying and just having a moment. And I realized by trying to articulate it to you that I had really lost my confidence. Like, and that started me down this path of really trying to redefine my value system. And that's where therapy was super helpful. And it's still helping me to not tie my value to the job I have, the wife I have, the kids I have, to things, especially things out of my control, especially things outside of myself, like learning how to look within for things that I've always looked outside for. And so that was my aha moment, and that's a journey that I'm still on, but I still struggle with that. Like, for some people, failure is like, okay, that just didn't work out. For me, I internalize it like I didn't do something right. And so I'm learning how to, like, trust God and let him have his way and stuff like that. But therapy has been truly helpful in that. I would also say, in addition to therapy, and I'll shut up after this, another thing, people always just say therapy. I want to add this caveat. One, therapy is different. There's different types of therapy. So one of my first therapists was more like of a coach therapist, where he was like, get up, you got it, bro. Like, keep it moving. Like, he was like it was boot a dude. Camp. Yeah, it was like a little boot camp. I enjoyed it but at the same time, I was like, all right, but I'm hurting still. Like, I'm learning how to run wounded. Like, I'm like, okay. And then my second therapist started asking me about my childhood and asking me. So that was one thing. And then also another thing is, like, and this is for me, and I would scream this from the mountaintop, there is a heavy spiritual component to mental health, in my opinion. I noticed that the more I felt devalued, I was further away from God. Wow. So the more I started praying and seeing who I was in him, I stopped looking for who I was in other things like my wife, my children, my job, and stuff like that. And so there was a direct correlation between how close I felt to God and how mentally jacked up that I felt. So I would say that too. All right, I'm done. That was my, what'd you call it, mental MHM or something like that?
Yes, mental health moment.
Yeah, mental health moment. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I've been on, like, an official mental health journey for 10 years. And mine came, well, at least when I started therapy, that was like in 2014.
Right.
And, that ccame after, that was a moment, very intense moment that we'll talk about maybe one day.
Okay.
When we devote maybe another one of these sessions to this. But,
Get your popcorn for that one.
It's riveting, I tell you.
It's riveting.
But that is like when we had broke up, like
Right.
we broke off our engagement, and yeah, I had gotten to a point where I felt like literally outside of myself. Like I felt out of control. I felt like my emotions were just all over the place, and it had honestly like it scared me. I didn't like the way I felt like I couldn't like regulate or get a handle on myself. And I remember my dad was like, well, you need to be in therapy.
Right.
And I was like, what? So, but I ended up going, and I have been in it ever since. Like how often I go just depends on the season. So
Right.
it's like, it could be sometimes like when I was doing it then, when I just started, I was going every week for
Right.
like a year. I went like every week. And then I kind of started to, whittle it down a little bit, like, all right, every other week, and, things like that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll just kind of, like be like a check-in. If things are good, then it's like, all right, I'll go, once every 6 months or something.
Yeah.
I know now that does not work for me. I tried that, this is like the end of 2022, coming into 2023, like, and I didn't go to therapy for like 5 or 6 months because like life was just life, and it was busy. It was around the same time, like, and that doesn't work for me. I'm like, okay, so I need to be, at least if I don't do anything else, like at least every 2 months, I should be checking in with my therapist. Like,
Right.
that should be like the longest stretch, just to be able to get things off of my heart, get it off of my chest, out of my brain, and just have it, make sense. So,
Right.
So I'm always, Pastor Merrick can attest to it. I'm always like, pushing therapy, like go, like therapy. We were like, what do I go to therapy? Just go to therapy. And but I love it because it literally, like, I really like to be self-aware. And so whether it's like therapy, or I've done different like types of trainings, like through work or whatever, that has allowed me to kind of like, like those like little personality tests and things.
Yeah.
And so I'm really into that because it helps me to see myself more.
Yeah.
And then it helps me to see other people more. So like, the Enneagrams and all of that stuff. Like I was like kind of obsessed with that for a little bit. I was getting all these books and and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm a 4. Like this explains so much. And all of that stuff. So like that stuff helps me. And then also, I'm also a big proponent of meditation. And, meditation is simply just stopping to just quiet yourself, be present in the moment, and just, being present in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on that too. So I love like now where I am, like looking back from where I was 10 years ago to where I am now, like the growth has been just, for me, and not to say that I still have so much work to do. And again, I know that's something you could probably attest to as well. But I mean, but from where I was, I know that's also, it's time too, because time will help and heal some things as well. But also putting in that work, and knowing that like mental health is not just like, okay, let me just do this. Like I said, okay, every 6 months I'm just going to just tap into this. Like it is a daily. It's a daily practice, like in some form or fashion that you have to do. Yeah. And I think just like taking care of our bodies is like a daily practice. And I know we're not always at the doctor every day or even in therapy every day, but like the food that you eat, like that's something we have to do every day. And that's taking care of our physical bodies. So just like taking care of that every day, you got to take care of your mind every day, like in some way.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. And I love that you said you have to take care of it. It attaches intentionality to it because I believe, so let me just clear, like I believe that spirits are real. Like I believe that the Holy Spirit is real. I believe that there are, demonic forces or, evil forces, whatever you want to use. I believe angels are real. So I believe that the spiritual is real, but what I don't like to do is over-spiritualize things that it seems like the Bible is very prescriptive about, like, just choose to do this. Like, if you read, what is it, like 1 Corinthians 13, like the whole love thing, like love is patient, love is kind. Like, all of those are choices. Like, you can choose to love someone or you can choose not to. It don't say nothing to like only do it when you feel like doing it. You know what I mean? Like everything that God told the children of Israel as it relates to how he wants them to interact with him and the laws and stuff like that and how to set up the temple. It was a choice. Like, do what I asked you to do. You can choose this. It's not so much about how you feel. It's about choosing. And in our human bodies, we want to feel like it so that we can show up, and we call it being authentic. Mm-hmm. But in spiritual life, it's do it, and then you will get the results, the feeling results from it. Mm-hmm. So it's like okay, do this, and you will see my spirit come upon you. You'll see the residual of it. You'll want to do it eventually. You'll see, pray when you're anxious and you'll see peace come. Not like pray when you feel peaceful. You know what I mean? And so I just love the fact that you are attaching so much intentionality to it, because I think when we wake up in the morning and we have like negative thoughts, we think that we just have to live with them. Mm-hmm. And it's like you sometimes have to tell yourself like, yes, this is a lie.
Speak over yourself.
Yeah, like,
it's true.
And I'm going to choose to get out of bed. I'm going to choose to go to the doctor. I'm going to choose to get medicine to help me with my depression. Whatever it is, like you have to continuously make those choices each and every day.
You do. Like literally, like even like the other day, like, and it wasn't a mental thing I had going on, but it was a physical thing. Like my body was just like, my body was not feeling good. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, all right. But like, again, like I said, they're connected, right? Like the mind and the body, like they're, it's one. And so, but I was just like, in that moment, I wasn't so down and out that I couldn't like move, but it was like, okay, Tiff, like, all right, let's get up. Like that's when I called you, and I was like, okay, like help me just to like motivate me to get out the bed. Like I know like I wasn't in the bed, but I was on the couch. But like once I'm able to move, I know I'll be able to move. Right. It may be slow, it may be a little painful, but like I know when I'm up and I get going, I can keep going. Right. But it took a lot of mental strength for me to be able to do that, because I was like, God, my body. Yeah. And not that I was ignoring like the pain that I had, but but it was also like sometimes you can push past certain things too. And once a little pep talk with you and with the Lord and with myself. All of us worked together to get me off that couch, and I was fine. I was like, okay, right. I was like, I put myself in the mindset, all right, I'm going to choose to have a good day. I put a little cute outfit. I was like, all right, I'm choosing this in this moment. Right. And that really helped me to be able to like, really like get my day going and like, and get, and carry it out.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, it really is about speaking over yourself. It's just so funny because I feel like the older I get, and I'm just older, but the longer I keep living and just reminded of things like certain songs and certain things like that you heard when you were younger. So it's just so funny because you're like, okay, like, oh, you singing? You giving us a solo right now?
Nah, solo. You can't hear me.
Okay, keep it away. You can have it. You can have the mic. You got the mic. But yeah, it's like stuff like that just like comes back to my spirit, and I'm like, okay, so y'all knew what y'all was talking about, and singing some of those songs and those hymns, because
absolutely,
you really do.
Yeah, and even if you can't get up, at least recognize that you can't get up and go and get help to get up. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's another thing is like people tend to ignore, and so it's not that you have to like you said, like it's not that you have to just like act like you don't have pain. Right. But it's like, is this pain that I can overcome, or is this pain that I need help to overcome? Either way, I need to make a choice to address, to get through it and to get past it and not sit in it. Yeah, and I think that's about being a realistic Christian. And I think a lot of times like we get so, like you said, so overly spiritual. Yeah. Now look, Pastor Merrick and I, we love the Lord with all of our heart, soul, being, mind, body, all the things, right? God, we love you. But like some of y'all out here just be doing the most when it comes to like ignoring things or acting like they don't exist. So it's like if you are sick and it's like, I rebuke that. But you out here like you have a fever of 102. Like there is no rebuking that. That is, you need to go see a doctor. Yeah. Take some Advil and go see a doctor. Right. Like, or if it's just like,
if people do have depression or deal with stuff, it's like, oh, the devil, he's busy. He's honestly right now in this moment, he's not thinking about you.
Yeah.
Like, he's already got you because you already think it's him, and you're not doing anything about your situation. You're not making a choice.
That's so good.
And so it's so important. Like, I do want us to have a healthy relationship with God, right? A healthy relationship, a healthy reliance. But it's also about being smart and being aware, and that is why God placed people with gifts and abilities and talents so that they can help us while we are here on earth in this physical body.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the God that we serve. We very rarely, and I don't know the Bible fully forwards and backwards, but for the majority of the stories, if I'm not mistaken, most of the people's healing required them to do something. In the Old Testament and New Testament, deliverance required them to do something. Even if it's Israel, you're going to have to walk out of Egypt holding all of your stuff and get to the Red Sea. You're going to have to walk across the sea and hope that these done. Like, even when they were in the wilderness, and I think when they had messed up one time, and then God had sent snakes and vipers, and then they were biting them, and people were dying, and then Moses went and prayed that the snakes would go away. I think it's in Numbers chapter 20 or 21. And then God said, okay, put a bronze snake up on a pole, and every time somebody gets bit, tell them to go look at the snake at the pole. And then it worked. And then it was like, but we don't attribute that same mindset to like, okay, God, I'm not feeling well. Okay, get up and go to the doctor that I provided for you. Like, we just want to sit back in the bed and just being like, heal it here.
Yeah.
And God's like, well, no, you need to take a couple steps to the water and get in the water. I need to spit in this mud. I need to rub it on your eye. You need to turn around. You need to receive, get up off, rise, get off your mat, like stretch out your hand, like do something, because like faith is walked out. And like, I just don't like. And I've gotten caught up in it, so I'm not going to act like a hypocrite and act like I don't know why people don't move, because you've seen me, like I've had the crying prayers where I'm just sitting there hoping that God makes it better right here. Right. And it's like, you can cry out to God and he's going to tell you, rise, take up your mat and walk, and we will walk this thing out. Right. And that's the series that we're in. It's like on the way, like your healing is on the way to the place that I've called you to. You got to get up and walk. You got to get up and go. You got to make a decision, like we've been saying. So I'm off of it, but I just, that's the message, I think. It's like take a hold of your mindset and get going.
Yeah. And that's a good point, right? Because I'm not saying that you can't have moments, right? Where you're like, because we're human. So we're all going to have moments where it's like, all right, God, like, we're crying out. It's like, I don't know, like, God, do this right now. Ain't nothing happening, But so, right, I have been there, lived there. I know I'm going to do it again, because we act like he ain't the same God. But, for sure. But there's just a difference in between, like, just being completely out of touch. Yeah. I don't want to, use another word, but like just out of touch. Or it's like, but you have to move. You have to do things. That's good. And just a side note, Pastor Merrick be cracking me up, because like he is, when he refers to the Bible, he is OT all day. He is going to Numbers, Deuteronomy. Like,
the stories are in the Old Testament.
He is going to pull an Old Testament. Like that is his go-to. Like, well, last Sunday you did.
I did New Testament.
You did. So but I think it was Pentecost, so that was But I just love it. I just
they be forgetting about the Old Testament.
I love not a good OT. I'm just saying, when they start going through all the names, that's when I'm like, okay, all the generations and the names and the tribes.
That's what a blessing is. God's like, you gonna stick it out with me? Look. Mihel Shihel and all that. Like,
right. When I gotta go on YouTube and how do you pronounce this? That's when I'm like, all right, Lord. Right. I'm just gonna my pastor here will help me work it out.
Now I'm your pastor. All right. That's cool.
Always my pastor. Okay. So this is really good discussion. So this is good stuff, and I'm glad that we were able to share our journey, and and also just pulling like some just real stuff about like our daily walks and how mental health should look. I'm not gonna say I will be remiss, but I don't know if I'm being trying to just weave a little bit of the culture in here.
We live in the culture.
The culture, the news, all of that, events. Current events, and it's it should not be a secret or a surprise to anybody at this point. The news and what we've heard about Sean Diddy Love Combs and all the events that have Puff Daddy, P Diddy, all of the stop, all of the okay, can you get that part out?
Don't leave that out, shoot.
All of the stories and the things that have unfolded and continue to unfold regarding his situation. Yeah. His and the victim situation.
Do you want to explain the situation?
I feel like I don't have to, but
that's fair.
That's
fair. Yeah.
I feel like if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you need to look it up. So, and it won't be hard to find. Like literally everybody is talking about it. Right. Okay. Even people who probably
like CNN and BBC.
Yes, I'm sure everybody's talking about it. So, Pastor Merrick. Yeah. And so we had kind of touched on this a little bit before today, right? Just to kind of like talk about how this kind of ties into mental health and all of that stuff. Because Diddy did come out with an apology, right? With his apology or his version of an apology, and I know he made mention of therapy and I'm trying to be a better person and things like that. I guess my question, and I'm trying to like figure out how to phrase this without, like I said, without going too deep into it, because we're going to be here all day if we start dissecting that mess. But, so for one, like, do you feel that the situation that mental health or lack thereof, or not lack thereof, because we all have mental health, but a mental illness or instability or something was off, like, do you think that can sometimes play into situations like that? Not necessarily Diddy's, right? Because Diddy's not the only person who is, who has done, domestic violence. He is not. He ain't the first. He won't be the last. Right. Somebody watching this has done it or is probably a victim of it. So is this something that you would, and I know you're not a doctor or a therapist, but just from a pastoral and, theological view, right? Is this something that is attributed to mental health? Is it something that someone can really be, healed from? We know that God does, God will forgive us and things like that. I know it takes people, a little bit more time if they do, but what do you make of all of this?
Yeah, no,
the connection with mental health and things like that.
Yeah. So I do believe this for everyone. I do believe that we are an amalgamation of our experiences and things that we have been through, things that we have experienced. Like, I heard somebody saying that like trauma isn't normalized. So like, for instance, a traumatic event is basically when an event happens, it's how I personally respond to the event happening. So what may be traumatic to me may not be traumatic to you. Mm-hmm. So somebody can come in here, slam a door. I could be scared as a mug. You could start laughing. It could have been traumatic for me. Mm-hmm. And then when I have responses to door slamming in the future or something like that I might get triggered from, you might look at me like, that wasn't traumatic. Like, that's nothing. And so depending on like people's experiences, I do believe that they start to form responses to either protect themselves or if it was a good experience that they had, to continue to repeat it. I say all that to say that I think whatever Diddy or anybody else, I think that he may have had experiences that have normalized that behavior for him, where he may have been in a position where he didn't even feel like it was wrong to do. So and this is not making excuses for him at all,
right,
so I'm not saying that he should have been doing it, but I'm just saying like it could have been maybe, his father or the people that his mother have been with, maybe they beat on him. You know what I mean? Like, it just reminds me of like Color Purple where Celie was like, did you try beating her? And we're talking about like, because it was like, that's normal it became normalized behavior where it was like, I don't see nothing wrong with it because that's what Mr. does to me.
Right.
And so it could be that. It could have been maybe he's been hurt. And so he's like, anytime that he's resolved in his mind that every single time that I get hurt, I need to hurt somebody else. Hurt people. It could be a power dynamic at play where he was like, I'm at the top. I need to stay at the top. So I need to remind everybody who's getting close to me that I'm still the HNIC around here and whatever I got to do. So there could be a plethora of things that have caused him to come to a point where he believes where that behavior became something where he could even do it in front of a camera in the middle of a hotel with a towel wrapped around him, like not even put on clothes, chasing somebody down, dragging him. Like that mindset it seemed to me to be normalized at that point.
Right.
Like this is no longer shock value anymore for me. You know what I mean? And so I say all that to say that, like, if I had to take away for anybody like watching, as we continue to move through life, always check your normal. Like if it's like wherever I feel like this is, and it doesn't have to be something bad, but always just do a check-in where it's like, is how I'm acting the way I'm supposed to be acting? Do I have voices around me, hence therapists, to be like, the normal, to me, that's what I've gotten the most out of therapy. What you consider normal is not normal. You've just normalized things that should not be normalized.
Right.
Your behavior in this moment. I remember, I don't mind sharing this, when I first started therapy, I kept like over explaining things to my therapist, or I would give people excuses before I even explained their behavior. So I would be like, yeah, and maybe like she wasn't feeling well that day, and maybe like, and I know it was late and the girls were acting crazy or whatever, but then my wife said this to me. And she'd be like, you do that all the time. Like, you won't just say it. And so I didn't know that was irregular. I didn't know that there was anything wrong with me doing that. I didn't know that there was like that I was suppressing my own feelings in order to be able to continue to elevate my wife's feelings over my own. Like, my therapist grabbed all of that out of me just saying stuff that was normal to me. So I'm just saying, one, he has to surround himself, or anybody in that situation, continue to check your normal. I will also say with his apology, like, I wonder what the motivation was. So this is like where I think society can play a part. I think it could be self-preservation at play. Like, okay, I see my empire burning. I need to do something. And the thing that rings into my head is like, be still and know that I'm God. Like, I would have told Diddy just to sit still. And if this is an authentic apology, and this is what you believe God is telling you need to do, then put the apology out, and it don't matter what nobody else say, because you're doing what I'm telling you to do. So if he did, he shouldn't care at all. If he did it to try to save face or try to keep his empire from burning down, or if he did it to try to appease people or whatever, then all the backlash he's getting from his apology is going to hit him worse than he felt before the apology got hit. So I'm hoping that if it was sincere, that it came from a place of for realness, because a lot of people are saying, and I don't blame them, that it's funny how the timing worked out, where the apology came after the video was dropped, but not before, no admission before the video was dropped. So it seems like that, but that's honestly between him and God, and I'm hoping that he has the people around him to help him navigate these waters right now, because it's tough out here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on them?
Well, I wanted to hear, yours. I know you have the theological,
yeah, that's, I mean, this is
views and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I'm also, I'm going to keep mine very short, but, it's not okay.
Absolutely.
It's never okay.
Absolutely.
I've never been in a situation like that. And like, I hope to never be, like, by anyone. And my thoughts and my prayers are with Cassie more
Absolutely.
so, because I'm like, people, this is like when people do apologies and things like this, it's like this is a classic case where the spotlight is now on them and it's not on the person who was hurt the most and has the most trauma to unpack and to deal with. So I I don't even want to really give a whole lot of energy to him. I don't wish anything for him. Like, I don't wish him bad, but I don't wish well. I don't know him, so I don't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's not, he's not affecting me or my family or anything like that. But we just gonna pray for him and, let him and God work that out. But definitely praying for Cassie, for her family, and for all, her children, and for all, women and men that have to, endure this. And so it's just my belief that people who are doing this, who are physical to someone else, I don't feel like they are well, because it should not come to a point that you have to get physical with somebody to have to express yourself. We are all adults. We should be able to use our words, not our hands or our fist or our legs or feet or anything to communicate to someone. That's not communication. Like, you are assaulting someone. So that's just my little 2 cents there.
And I know we got to jump. I know we got to go. I just want, as you clarify that, where are your thoughts around verbal, mental abuse as well versus just physical abuse in that sense? Like,
I mean, it's
like, we can use our words, and some people are very dangerous with their words. And,
yes, people and people can be dangerous, very dangerous with words. And yes, so that's actually a good point. I mean, of course, like, using like physical harm is, right. But words can cause a lot of, there's, the mental and emotional trauma. So that's real too. So it's, again, which is why it's so important to just check your mental health, because there's so many things that attribute to how we talk, to how we move. It's our upbringing, our society, our culture, our education. Right. All of those things play into the adults that we, end up being, and ultimately making, we make these decisions every day, on how to live, how to be. So, but yes, same thing, mental, verbal abuse is not okay either. So whether that's someone, if they are, degrading you, if it's, gaslighting, like all of that type of stuff, like that stuff is not okay either. But that's I don't know if we need a part 2. I say that every time. I'm like, we need like a part 2. I feel like we do. It's just it's so much. But so that's why it's mental health is not only good for yourself, right? But it's good for those who you surround yourself with. It helps you to be able to interact with people, to approach people, like to all of those things. And even if someone is saying something or, to you, like if your mental health, if you're strong, if you've, got yourself together, then that stuff doesn't, it won't affect you as much because you've built up, you're healthy and you're strong here. Just like building up your immune system. When you take the right vitamins, eat the right foods, you could be around somebody who may be sick, but you may not get sick because you've built up this really strong immune system. So that's important to do for your mental health as well. Absolutely.
And I think to your point, when you have that strong immune system, you can discern better, and you can, and I say that because we've gotten into a culture of people like, just cut off people who are sick around you. And it's like, well, maybe everybody didn't be cut off. I mean, people can have toxic traits or whatever, but but when you're healthy, you can discern enough to know, like, is this a cutoff situation? Is this me loving them through it situation? Is this me, you know what I mean? Because there's some people who have toxic traits that you just can't cut off. You ain't just going to cut off your spouse. You're going to cut off your children. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
some people do.
They do.
Absolutely.
And I'm not, I'm just saying in the sense of it being like avoidance versus being able to like have a resistance, like you said, or like to be, well, I'm going to work on my immune system, and become stronger versus just keeping a weak immune system and just staying away from sick people, because you could also be sick too, and whatever. But not to beat up the analogy, but this was great. Thank you.
Yeah. So just do what's best and what's healthiest for you. Yeah. That's how we'll close that out. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, this was good. Can you pray us out, Pastor Merrick?
Absolutely. Also, I just want to, as I'm preparing myself to pray, as we're preparing to pray, I just want to encourage those who may be struggling with deciding whether or not to make an investment in their mental health, spiritual health, that it's always worth it. It's never money wasted. You're not even money, but time, energy wasted. Improving yourself is always a worthy investment. We didn't give too many practical tips, but definitely try out therapists. If it's not a fit, you've changed therapists before, I've changed therapists before, but definitely get started. Talk to other people who may have had therapists. And I will also say therapy is not the end all be all. And this is where I give my little spiel about being in a church family and having spiritual health. As I mentioned before, it's coupled with spiritual health. So God is still, you are a spiritual being. And part of your health is your mental health that a therapist can help you with. But a very large part of who you are, too, is having a perspective, a God perspective in your life. And so I just want to encourage you, for those who don't have a relationship with God, I want to invite you into that, to be able to get to know Christ, to be able to get to know the one who made you, who formed you in your mother's womb, who created you, who imparted his image on you, that if you want to know more about how you work, how you should work, then you need to have a relationship with God in that. And so we'll pray and get out of here. Father, we just thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share with one another. We thank you for the great conversation that took place. I pray, Father, that if there's anybody who may be dealing with any kind of abuse, anybody who's dealing with any type of mental illness, if there's anybody who's dealing and wants to continue their mental health and wants to continue to pour into themselves in that way, I pray that you give them discernment. Pray that you guide them to the right places to get the right resources. I ask, Father, in the name of Jesus, that if there's anybody who's on the other side of abuse, who is an abuser and wants freedom from that, Father, that you deliver them and that you allow them to be able to get the help that they need as well. And Lord, we just pray that you use this conversation to be able to expand your kingdom, to improve your people and make an impact on the world. We thank you for all of these things. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great week.
Have a great week and happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Enjoy the weekend, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.